Hello and welcome to Fierce Friday. My name is Stephanie Don. I'm the chair of the Million Mom Movement Council, and I'm super jazzed to be here with you today. We come together every Friday to support you in creating a healthier life for yourself, because we got to put on our oxygen mask first, right? As well as your children and your community and your friends and family, because that's what we do here. We are not selfish. When we know that something works and is good, we share it. So I'm honored to be here with you today. Today we're focusing on conscious parenting, and I'm going to pass the baton shortly to Carmela Velarde here. But before we do, we'd like to read the pledge. We like to do it every Friday because it really, if you're brand new here, it's going to help you understand who we are as a movement and as a community and what we stand for. So I'd like to invite my beautiful colleague and Mama Jody Parker. Jode, will you read the pledge for us?
I will read the pledge. Good morning, everyone. Happy Fierce Friday. I'm sharing my screen. I will show you where to find the pledge. Sorry, I didn't turn mail off. I did turn everything else off though, so you shouldn't get dings all through this. If you go here under movement and you hit join, this is millionmommovement.info. You can lock arms. Those kids, 3 of them are mine, but those are all of our children. So they are real children who are really part of the Million Mom Movement. And here's our pledge at the bottom when you scroll down here. And just to put a disclaimer, when you give us your information, it's just ours. We don't share it with anyone. And let's set our intention. Everybody read along with me. I pledge to defend the health of myself and my family. I pledge to choose organic foods that are minimally processed and free of man-made ingredients. I pledge to read labels and educate myself on all aspects of clean living. I understand that my actions today will positively impact the health and environment of future generations. I am committed to sharing this movement of many. I am the Million Mom Movement. And I just want to point out, we talked about put the oxygen mask on first. That's why the first line says health of myself and then family. And mom is capitalized because it is a movement of many. Anybody who is concerned about our food supply and keeping everybody healthy and taking care of the planet for the next generation, all of you are welcome. Steph, back to you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jody. And I do want to make an announcement regarding our scholarships, because we had that super powerful presentation last week with all of our scholarship awardees. And I'm sorry to say that the scholarship program is on hold right now, and we do not know, we don't have definitive dates about when it will come back. We are working very closely with corporate to get that relaunched, but it is up to corporate in terms of when it's going to relaunch. So if you are applying, that's fine, you can apply, but I just want you to know that we do not have a date as to when awards will resume again. So I just wanted to let you all know, because I am getting texts and I wanted to be clear. All right. I did not have the clarity that I needed last week. And so I have that clarity now. So, okay, let's go to Ms. Naiva Flore. Aloha. Bring us some of that gorgeous island love, my sister.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Stephanie. Always happy to be here. And today I'm going to share about our social media. So we'd like to invite you to come like, follow, and subscribe to our Million Mom Movement platforms on social media. So you'll find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And on Facebook, you can go ahead and like our Facebook page. You can also join our Facebook group, and in that group, you'll find a ton of resources, and we'd love to invite you to come be a part of the community there. We'd love to have you share your stories, what's inspiring you, recipes, all the fun stuff that's happening in your community. And we'd also like to invite you to follow us on Instagram. Just so you know, the link in the bio on Instagram has all of the links to the things we've talked about today. So if you're looking for our YouTube replays, or if you're looking for the pledge or some of our blogs, the links are in the bio on Instagram. So keep that in mind. You can also post on your Instagram and use our hashtags and tag the Million Mom Movement so that I can repost you and feature you on our pages. when you're featured on Instagram, you also are featured on Facebook and Twitter. So that's a really wide net that we're casting, and hopefully you're getting additional followers or inspiring people in our community with your posts as well. And we'd also invite you to follow us on our Twitter page if you're on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you will find all the replays to our Fierce Fridays, our Lunch and Learns. And so if you learned something today and maybe you want to share this recording with somebody else that wasn't able to be here, you can go and find that recording probably later on this afternoon on YouTube. So back to you, Steph.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Naiva. So we're diving into a topic today that is of great interest to me. Many of us who are here in this community, we are here because we are parents. And I just want to be really honest with you all. You know, parenting is hard. It comes a lot easier for some people than others, but it is, it doesn't matter what age your children are. We all need support to learn how to be great parents. It takes a community to raise a parent, right? You've heard it said that it takes a village to raise a child, right? Well, it does take the community as well, the village, to raise the parent. And so I'm really excited to bring on Carmela Velarde, who's one of the just loveliest humans that I know. I'm so grateful every day to be on this path with you, Carmela, and I'm excited to learn from you today and chime in where needed. Yeah, just passing the baton to you, Carm. Take it away.
Hey everyone, thanks so much, Stephanie. I couldn't be more excited myself to talk about this topic to the Million Mom Movement community, who's a community of mavericks, soul seekers, people who are deeply committed to helping the future generations. And I really feel deeply into consciousness in this community. And so this is where we get to discuss how does it really in society get misconstrued, and how often does traditional mainstream industrialized ways of raising children not actually help us to necessarily be conscious for ourselves, but instead put our energy outward. So I, I'm a first generation American, and I come from a very big family. My parents, one of 10, one of 7, my mother, but I only have one sibling. And I had a spiritual awakening at a very young age with my parents, who had a very traditional, well, I had two sides of the spectrum. I had one that was a conscious parent, and I had one that was a traditional parent. And so I really got the spectrum of how disciplining and raising me kind of played out. And as a conscious being at an early age, having a spiritual awakening, I was able to actually distinguish the two. And maybe we may not have had that experience with parents. And so this is why I'd like to speak to you guys specifically, because you're caregivers. So this may not necessarily mean that you're a parent. Maybe you're wanting to become a parent. Maybe you're still parenting yourself. It's never too early and it's never too late. And really that conscious awakening that I had was that there were two sides of the spectrum that I felt worked for me, that resonated well with me, the discipline. And then there was one side that was very effective, but then I took everything with a grain of salt, right? And this is where we learn what is conscious parenting. So let me define it for you. Like I said, the mainstream way is to look outward, look at the child, look at what they might be doing wrong. What's wrong with them? What are they doing wrong? What is the behavior? And it feels bad just even actually saying that, right? It feels bad just focusing on just that, because what happens? It's a kind of like a virtuous enterprise, this discipline. It's where we even put the parent as hierarchical, tyrannical, dictator, and it doesn't necessarily come with it a lot of focus on the inner work that the parent is having with the reaction. And it can actually be very psychologically dangerous, this illusion where we were taught. And I like to start out with this kind of more mainstream illusion first, because I'm going to be talking the whole other part all about consciousness. So let's start out with what we're up against. And this is truly like if you come from a more traditional background or culture, how we define consciousness for parenting, it's not meant to be that way. It's honestly like the child has to be fixed, or they're the object, or they're the possession of the child, of the parent, or they're puppeteering the parents' initiatives for their family. And you know what? When with conscious parenting, it's the absolute opposite, and it has all to do with the child. But it's all to do with the child's well-being, but it is all to do with the parent's own sense of alignment with their highest self, their highest version of themselves. And really how we strive to be at that higher state of evolution, to be emotionally present, to be intellectually available, and to realize that parenting, like Steph said, is not easy. And in the moments that we are having those challenges, how can we look at these moments as opportunities to grow and evolve? And take that moment, take a deep breath, ground in your body, and say, is this coming from a place of lack, energetic scarcity, shame, guilt? So I do have some slides that I do like to share, because this is not an old concept. This is a concept that we do not know and understand in energy, where energy, there's a path to emotional freedom. And frequency comes from understanding us, that we are conscious beings here to live the most enlightened state of being. And when we have a child, we have to go through our stages of our own self-evolution. And do we carry with it the more lower vibrations into our childhood rearing? Now, if there are downward spirals and there are upward spirals. And so many of us have this belief that we're here. Obviously, everyone's here because they believe, they're enthusiastic about the power of community healing. They're eager and empowered, and they love freedom. They love joy. All the upward spiral is us. This is who we are. This is our community. But deeper down, and I'm going to get deeper into this in a little bit, you know, our scales of consciousness also have to do with our emotional baggage that we carry from our parents. And really, there's a lot here that frequency carries. Like if you're a Reiki master, I have a background in holistic healing. I have a background in psychology. But what I really took from all of this is we learn from energy in utero. In utero, we feel into what our parents' energy and emotional state is. So when you're even thinking, pre-planning, pre-parenting yourself, are you in a state that you are really ready to evolve yourself first? So when I first had children, my first child, I went all in. I did inner child work. I did workshops. I did family constellation healing work, which is an amazing methodology. I highly recommend this to you. Please look it up. I did actually a prenatal yoga course, so that when I was pregnant, I was learning how to then help mamas who are pregnant, but also be helping myself. So I was really making a grand effort to work through any of these negative spirals that I was holding on to, identifying them, and really expanding my consciousness and energy field, because in utero, I knew that everything I was learning, studying, exposing myself to, it was all really, it was really all about that. It was about who I was to this child now. Now, I want to stop the share real quick and go into, you know, the neurobiology of how does it affect these lower spiral energies? How does it affect the child? A lot of you might know about how Masato Emoto, right? Messages in the Water, how these feelings, these emotions, and I had to address this scale because the guilt, the shame, the fear, the hopelessness, this depression, it affects energetically the composition of molecules, and we are creating babies, or we are energetically in the environment surrounding and supporting these children. And we want to imbibe and embody the higher frequencies always, because we can affect change every single moment if we're conscious in the moment. And there's the negative frequency. So what can happen with that? Neglect, right? Neglect is a big one. I don't know if anyone has tuned into this Hulu documentary about Jordan Turpin. Drop a 1 in the comments if you have. It's very interesting, but it's fascinating, and it went viral. So this woman, Jordan Turpin, at 21, she escaped her family whose parents were torturing 12 of the siblings, 12 children. And what did that do? It's powerful, guys, powerful. But she escaped, and she was able to save some of her siblings who were chained onto beds and starved. And what these parents would do is they would put a cake out and they wouldn't feed them. It was as if they were testing. See, this is what we can transfer. This is what humanity can actually transfer. This is humanity. This is what's happening. And this is why it's so important to discuss conscious parenting, guys, because in this world, I am not surprised that there's more of those families out there. We just don't hear about them. And we do need to talk about the power of what we're doing here and how relevant it is to society, because you are the change makers. You are working diligently on yourself daily as a caregiver, and know that that matters. And what I did see about this beautiful story that I wanted to bring up was Jordan Turpin then went viral on TikTok. She went viral. She has over, I don't know, hundreds now of videos of her dancing, vibrant, healthy, happy. And you could see her transformation. How? Art therapy, through movement, through music. And so I want to tell you, my spiritual awakening actually had come from music. I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, I'm a dancer. And when I was feeling those negative frequencies in my childhood, my family, they were not fully conscious of the negative, say, more mainstream parenting discipline problems that were in our household. But what they did do, they did their best. Absolutely. We want to believe always parents do their best. They put me into every kind of sport, art, music, and I found myself. I resonated deep, deep, deep in myself, and I healed any kind of those negative frequencies that may have come with some of their baggage that they had inner childhood wounds. And I was able to shake it off, and I became my own sovereign being. And I was, wow, like those awakenings are so powerful, because this is what I help other women and families to learn now. Because in finding yourself, healing yourself, art and music and being in the physical body, and you're learning about how you can nourish yourself nutritionally, this is your God-given right. And it's your healing tool, how to use it, how to learn how to use it and be that free in yourself. You can break through any pattern. And these pattern breakings, I mean, you could see it from Jordan Turpin. I mean, the kind of starvation and deprivation and terrible upbringing and neglect. Her molecules, when you first saw, you could see her video of her when she called 911. They had a video from the cop cam that showed her, and she was frail and tiny and weak looking, but she doesn't look like that anymore on TikTok. No, she turned herself around, and it's powerful. And she saved a whole family, and she inspired a large group of people here. I mean, you got to watch. So neurobiology is really powerful, and transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is another topic in Pure Yum we discuss in a very valid way, because yes, we're born with the DNA blueprint. Yes, we are. But believe it or not, we can control them through belief and energy. Belief and energy work. And, I speak to each person here really deeply, because I feel that we can activate our consciousness through our daily practices. And in our community, what better way than to show up for yourself, to show up for others in a high vibrational state? We teach this. This is how we want our community to teach our lifestyle, because we ourselves are the change makers. If not us, then who? If not now, then when? And if you see the people out there who are seriously suffering with how to raise children, be that model, be that change maker, be that energy that just wants to attract more families to us. We want this community to be 1 million, guys, and it's happening. I get very emotional about this, goodness, because epigenetics, to me, I could have easily just said, oh, this is my victimhood. This is where I am. And I took it with a grain of salt. I took everything that I was taught and I said, I forgive you. My parents did the very best they could do. And I know they're watching right now. So I love you with all my heart and I forgive you. I'm compassionate. I've learned compassion. I'm an adult now. And it's amazing how epigenetics actually, you can change your vibration. You can change your DNA. You can actually, what we had as a wonderful guest, I'll never forget this, is 70% of autism is preventable, right? We can help the future by changing our lifestyle, by changing what we do daily. Isn't that powerful? 70% is preventable. When we think we're hopeless, we're in that downward spiral. Do not give in. Don't give in. Don't give up hope. We can help. Everything we're doing is helping. Everything we're doing is helping. And just by being here, by listening, by absorbing, by being a maverick, being a seeker is really powerful. Now I'm going to go a little bit into something here that might trigger you, may not. Hang on a second. How do I get out of this? Give me a moment. Share. Maybe it'll help me here. Can I click? Okay, here we go. So where did that screen go? Okay, so signs that we may have a wounded inner child, guys, right? So let's talk about that. It's a little bit of a trigger, but Carl Jung, he's a renowned psychotherapist who has come up with so many methodologies that connect us to this term, inner child is what he coined. And if you read this and you might relate to it, or you can connect to people who you're currently coaching, it is something that we're all working on, and it is something. One, you might feel that there's something wrong with you in the deepest parts of yourself. You may experience anxiety when going out of your comfort zone. You're a people pleaser. You don't have a strong sense of identity. You deliberately like being in conflict with people around you. We all know people like that sometimes, somewhere. You're a hoarder of things, emotions, people, and you have a hard time of letting go. You feel inadequate as a man or a woman. You constantly criticize yourself for your supposed inadequacies. You're unforgiving to yourself. You're rigid and a perfectionist. You have a hard time committing and trusting. You have a deep abandonment issue and will cling to relationships even when toxic. Now, yes, we might identify with many of them. And this is the work that we need to go deeper into. We should, and it's never too late. If you're a parent of a 20-year-old, if you're a parent of a 30-year-old, you're still parenting. You're still that model. They're still looking to you for support and, what can they do? Because no matter what, you're always going to be a parent to that person who you maybe biologically or even non-biologically raised. And so, go to the next slide here. There's just some ways to connect with your inner child. So identify, and let me share with you how. How do we connect? And this is the work that I did pre-parenting, right? My first child. I did this inner child work, and it was super crucial for me to reconnect, to travel back in time to my childhood and those moments where I needed parenting myself and I didn't have it. Maybe those moments I needed that parent to sit down with me. And what were the things that I needed to hear in those moments and I did not hear? So you get to actually go back to those moments. And I will talk to you about some of the things that exercises that you can practice after this. But going back and spending time to relive the memories. It might be difficult. It is challenging. But if you don't address them, the first list of all the signs will still exist. And so if you're committed to this conscious parenting, you want to identify. Now, here's a list of a few of specific inner child wounds. One is the abandoned child, and this child often emerges from not getting enough attention from parents. And it seems, relatively innocent, but parents might be too busy, or it can be more severe, like the Jordan Turpin story. This is the playful child. And the child is healthy and often neglected in adulthood. Do you remember when you were playful and spontaneous, having fun without any guilt or anxiety? Okay, and then the fearful child. This child received a lot of criticism and regularly experiences anxiety when you're not getting the attention or enough affirmation, or you might not be making your mark. The golden child, somewhat similar, actually. This child lives up to perfectionistic pressures of parents, worships authority, feels fear of failure, and can have this narcissistic codependence. This is challenging when you have relationships in future, actually. So this is just identifying them. And then you want to write a letter to this inner child of yours. Now, what does that look like? It could just be a journal. Just express yourself, and really remember when you time travel those moments, and then look at what it created in you, what patterns it may have created within you. And you want to pay attention to not just the patterns, but how you felt in those patterns, because that's very important. And remember, a lot of the frequencies in the energetic models of the upward and downward spirals are all emotionally connected. And I have a background in acupuncture and herbology. So much of what we are energetically, emotionally connected to in a negative way can actually create a lot of dis-ease in the body. And oftentimes where you're carrying your health issues is these emotional baggage that you might be holding on to. And then just be mindful of your inner critic, just be compassionate and soft. Okay. So yes, so it's a little bit of a heavy topic tonight, wherever you're coming in from. But you know what? Let's focus on you, right? This is a community for you because you're showing up as the best parent you can be today. And we need to look deeper and journal. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more about how to get started and being more of a conscious parent. So there's another topic I wanted to discuss, which is attachment versus authenticity. So what does this mean? So authenticity in conscious parenting has a lot to do with survival, actually, right? Because the child is actually having to use their own intuition to survive if, say, a lion was attacking them in a jungle, right? They have to learn, they're not attached to what the parents should allow them to do. They're saying, I got to do this now. It's a fight or flight, actually, and it's survival. So authenticity is actually a very powerful tool here that we're thinking about, because it can tap you into your own inner voice. And honestly, your own inner voice is something sometimes with parenting, maybe you have had parenting that was traditional, you weren't able to tap into. And are you tapping into it right now? Are you freeing your voice by being a lifestyle brand? Yeah, you absolutely are. Are you tapping into your inner voice and authenticity and not thinking necessarily of what anyone else might think, but you showing up for yourself? Yes, absolutely. Which is why this is such a relevant topic specifically, because we are while we're building this lifestyle brand, we're actually parenting ourselves. So congratulations. Everybody here is actually doing right by taking the commitment, just that commitment alone. That's a huge commitment, guys. I commend you for actually stepping into that very big leadership role. But then there's attachment. And a lot of us have attachments and baggage that we hold on to that prevents us, that gets in our way, that maybe we run the opposite direction when somebody like the person who introduced us to the work itself that we're doing with coaching, we run the opposite way, or we are just, what do you call this? Radio silence. And you don't know where they went. You're like, what happened? We call it ghosting. It happens, right? We experience this a lot in our business, and all the triggers, right? If you're not positively triggering people, you're not doing the right thing with coaching, because The key to coaching is to focus, keep people on track and focusing on their highest version of themselves. And these attachments, this baggage, these inner childhood wounds, you can almost immediately catch them with others if you are helping someone. Because why? You're asking them to step into their greatness. You're asking them to hold their light. And if they're not willing to hold the light, it's because they're not ready to look at their wounds yet. How do you help them then? What are the things? What are the things that we can do? Because here we are parenting ourselves and then we're helping others and we're still healing our own wounds. And how do we do all this at the same time, right? There's so much to do. Well, let me share the screen with you next. Okay. Hang on a moment. I hope this is the correct one I have to use. Yep. All right. Okay. How can we start practicing conscious parenting? So this is sort of where I wanted to also focus a lot more of the energy here, because so much about what we are doing for others. If you have a team, if you have coaching clients, if you have families that you are just supporting, right? Or if you're a parent yourself and you need support right now, you're like, what do I do if I'm not already doing it? Maybe you're already doing all of the things, but how do we get started in practicing it daily in our lives and being the best? So number one, we can start if you have not yet started to really look at the verbiage, everything that you're able to share with your child as a lesson, spell, in fact. Because words are spells. Words carry vibration, just as Masaru Emoto says. Like when you say thank you to someone enough times and you practice gratitude, abundance and that beautiful molecule appears. And that's just science. That's neuroscience, neurobiology in our bodies. Because we're 70% water, we're able to then change the energy of then how the response might be. Now, I do want to identify also, conscious parenting is not about discipline. You heard me. It's not about discipline. It's actually a no discipline philosophy of parenting. It is instead creating boundaries, connecting, and creating solutions together, because the child is the teacher. And when I had learned prenatal yoga, when I was pregnant with my first, and I had 2 natural childbirths, I had learned that, the soul of the child, there's a 60-day baby blessing, 60 or 90 day, I forget, 90 day baby blessing. So on the 90th day before the child comes, 90 days from when the child was conceived, that child's soul chooses the parent. And as soon as that soul of the child chooses the parent, in Kundalini Yoga, we create a blessing. It's a party. And I had a goddess party. It was amazing. I have it up on my Facebook. It was just something that women, if you've not practiced this is where you get to celebrate the connection. And then you get to speak into your uterus. You get to speak to your child. And this is where, when you play music to the belly, when you start to speak words to the child when you're pregnant, it can completely transform their molecules. So that's where we'll want to begin. And then I don't want to not forget the partners, because it's a partnership, and or not, maybe it isn't, but if it is, you want to be on board with how you both speak, because isn't that something when one speaks one way and then the partner speaks differently, and how that can completely change? And this is my experience as well, actually, in parenting. So I had both sides, although it was not completely black and white. It's never completely black and white, but you take everything with a grain of salt, because children are wise. We have everything. It's the conditionings that in our lifetime and the things that we were told that actually program and really program our belief systems. So knowing that we can actually support ourselves in helping our children raise children who believe in themselves and believe in the right principles and alignments that bring higher vibrations, then we can imbibe that same belief that we have, that we've grown and evolved to become, into them. So you want to be on point together with your partner in how you speak. And I really hang on this number one, because I couldn't speak more, it's energy. Child consciousness is learning through your energy. Number two is manage your expectations. So expectations of child rearing. Now, this is where the traditional model can really trip people up. Why? Because if you are not, as a child, following mama exactly as mama says, exactly the way she needs you to be, dressing how she needs you to be, having the right grades that they expect as parents for you to have to get into that Ivy League school or whatever, then they're not good enough. And those feelings, those inner wounds, they show up a lot. They show up a lot because even the smallest, expectation that you might feel, you're projecting. So that's where you want to be open to the child guiding, but you understanding what they need connection of where they're at. So for instance, there's this wonderful author who really opened up this whole world of conscious parenting as a topic to our generation through the book, The Conscious Parent. Her name is Dr. Shefali Saberi. And this is a wonderful book. I highly recommend everyone get. I'm going to reference a few other books as well. But she states that, it's really about how it's about the parent's evolution. And the discipline is more about the emotional intelligence that the parent brings in to the expectations, the emotional intelligence that there's another one right here, number 5, keep your children's age in mind. If it's a 5-year-old and you're expecting a lot more from them at 5 than that developmental stage even permits, take it easy, right? Meet them where they're at. Yes, it's definitely a child well-being focused practice, but at the same time, we always know better, of course, because we've had experience, we've had life experience, we have the opportunity to engage with higher states of evolution and learning practices and communities like the Million Mom Movement, but really managing our expectations of their age in mind. Number 3 is work on your issues and self-awareness. There are so many things, like I said, reading books, this particular book, The Conscious Parent, Transforming Ourselves and Empowering Our Children. It was a New York bestseller. And if you do look her up, it's going to open up a whole window for you to get great tips and exercises to practice. And this is a book that I had from when I was my second child, who's now 8. What Great Parents Do. 75 strategies, simple strategies, raising kids who thrive. I love this. If you like just step-by-step tips, it's amazing. And see, I opened up to something, of course, the resist to urge to fix feelings, right? That's another topic. Great parents let kids make mistakes and experience failure, right? Great parents aren't perfect. Now, we all know, and we're also focused on the bully, right? The bully. But you know what? The bully in kids' school and education teaches a grand lesson, guys, right? And we're all trying to protect the child of bullies. But I really think that when a child comes to you and says, I was bullied in school today. So what's your self-awareness of bullies? Because there are bullies all over the world, and adults in all ages. And the key is to be aware of where is this person coming from? What is their state of consciousness? Because we all know that hurt people hurt people. And we always have to come from a place of where is this other person coming from, and not being able to not take it personally is very challenging for a child. So you get to talk to them about are you doing this for yourself? Are you able to follow the 4 principles of Don Miguel Ruiz? And those 4 principles, one of them is not to take it personally. And it can be very challenging. So when you're working on your own issues, there's a myriad world of self-development books. And I absolutely love what great parents do. And working on your issues and self-awareness also takes the support and mentorship, counseling, if needed, the community of the Million Mom Movement, accountability, even the 12-step program. We understand how group support can really truly help people with addictions. And this goes for all kinds of addictions: food addictions, chemical addictions, shopping addictions, porn addictions, sexual addictions. There's a lot of issues that we have to bring into our own consciousness that if we're not healed in them, we're secretly hiding them in the closet. They are going to be brought up somehow when you're raising a child. Just know that energy is what they feel. And so if you're holding on to them, you want to be light as a feather, to be present and to really have that emotional intelligence to support them where they're at. Another true book that I loved growing up was Daniel Coleman's Emotional Intelligence. If you've never read that, that's a key book that I have, learned from in my high school years even. Now, treat your children as individuals. You might have 2, and they're very different. You might have 4 or 5, and each of them has their superpowers. Each of them might have their downsides too, their challenges. Now, do not ever create energy of favoritism. It is very, very hard to ever get out of that loop. I know this firsthand. And I tell you, it changes a family dynamic completely. And it carries all the way into adulthood, all the way to the end of life. So you are setting the tone of how children see themselves in a unit. And this is the consciousness as well of community building, is that when you have a team, when you have a family, each person has powers, superpowers, and they may be all stages of their development. And when you are seeing them for who they are, meeting them where they're at that moment, that day, it's an opportunity for your own connection. And remember, conscious parenting is not about discipline. It's not about expectation. It's about connection and meeting them where they're at, but creating healthy boundaries. So healthy boundaries of, okay, treat their children as an individual. Great. So I used to teach from a wonderful child development program called Gymboree. I don't know if you guys had ever heard of this, Gymboree. So it's an early childhood education system of art, music, and I used to teach kids and babies music and art. And wow, that was one of the only, and I tell you, it's one of the only programs out there that truly focuses on the child as an individual. I love it. And it was music and art. So that therapy to find the authenticity, that's also another thing we need to tap into. And I also taught kids musical theater all through college. So 4 years teaching children how to find their voices was my passion. And I loved it because you're building their belief system, you're activating their consciousness. And when you're able to do that, you have this power to change others and to support them where they're at as an individual. Number 7 is show empathy and compassion. I can't even tell you how powerful this number 7 is, because they might be going through some of the, most prepubescent, emotional moments, and they're so challenging. Maybe I have an 11-year-old girl going on 40, and punishment is not something in conscious parenting. It's not. It's just not. It's not the right way. They will not absorb it. They'll actually push back, and it will prevent you from making a deeper connection where they will actually be able to receive your lessons. And what do we want as parents? We want them to learn. And sometimes we don't find the right words to create the lessons, but by showing empathy and compassion, this is a key component. and dismantling our own programs to be able to be there, present there, that's key. So for instance, with my own family, I understood that they're third generation. I understood they come from an Asian culture that was super strict. And I grew up in an environment that was not. Kids were cursing at their parents and it was okay. And I thought that was absolutely insane. But, that's not okay in my family, not at all. And so when my parents raised me to be extremely disciplined, almost hyper disciplined, I showed compassion because I knew where they came from. And that's the spiritual awakening you have in yourself, that authenticity that you can decipher, where are they coming from? And then what am I living in an environment of? How different it is. I also grew up in a third world country, seeing poverty, and then coming into seeing the 2%ers and literally almost royalty and luxury. And I really questioned that as a child, and children are questioning that every day when they're looking at people online and in the social media saying that they have all this, they have all these fine, material things, and they look all this way to be beautiful. And you have to really have conversations with them about this body positivity, about beauty images, about what they're dealing with, even what expectations of what successful financially is. Oh my goodness, we have so many things that we have to show empathy and compassion, because what they're shown now is more than we've ever been. And I'm a child of the 70s and the 80s, really, the 80s and 90s, but they are seeing so much of everything. And they're trying to decipher all of it. So yes, we should have screen time. Yes, we should have them limited at certain ages, but we also have to be compassionate about the world they're living in and what they're being fed, what is trending. And then teach your children by example, model healthy habits. These two things to me completely align with our lifestyle, right? And the Million Mom movement. We are the movement of many. We are the ones who, if not us, then they're following what's on trend. What are the fads? And, it's very interesting how my own family, and I love to bring in my family experiences with this, but I didn't have my first child till I was 33 and 36. So I was an evolved adult. I was older. I did not have my first child till I was 11 with my 11 years into my relationship with my husband. So not till I was 11. Someone is laughing there. But no, 11 years of being with my husband before I had my first child. And I was 33 when I did. And so I consciously took the time. Not everybody does, and I understand that. But I was that young child with a spiritual awakening, knowing that, questioning all the things in society and how do I fit in and how do I succeed in life? How do I have a healthy family? How do I be in love? Because that's what I want. I want to be in love, like a windswept love romance, and have wonderful children, and that's what I got. I was able to achieve that because I pre-parented. I thought about steps. I thought about the things that I need to teach. By example, well, I'm not that person yet. Maybe I'm not ready to have a child. And that's not everybody's experience. And I do understand that too. But if you had the choice, make a choice. And if you're hearing this at the right time, I hope you are, then you have a lot that you can do. And learn how to model for yourself what healthy looks like for families. What does healthy look like? Well, it's creating good routines and habits. If you have habits that are not savory, like, waking up late or not being on time, not being, keeping to your word, huge golden rule, not putting you first, putting everybody first, and then taking care of yourself. Thanks for the hearts, guys. It's really, really beautiful when you see parents that put themselves first and the children are like, oh, in awe, like proud of their mom and dad, that they have a successful and happy I don't know, relationship and a happy career life and a happy, when they go on vacation, it's really truly like a celebration of life. And in a way, that habit of creating a lifestyle by leading the kids into this version of an ideal lifestyle, this is where we can then create the boundaries, teaching them responsibilities, because you've created this beautiful net, this trust and safe environment for them to see that you're human. And something I wanted to say, as I raise my own children who are 8 and 11 in this world, I tell them I'm not perfect. I tell them I'm still trying to figure it out every day, and I'm here with you, but let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together, and opening up to communication is such a key thing. And I tell you, the 5th chakra, open it up when you're a parent. You have to create this connection with your own self-expression and your innate voices, your authenticity, because when you do, the child feels that. And what you get to do is you awaken them in your freedom. And when you give them responsibilities, and this is what I see even when I have 2 dogs, you get to know a lot about me this Zoom, but I have 2 dogs. And whenever you're training a dog, and not to say they're like kids exactly, but love and discipline need to be in equal balance. Why? Because discipline is love. Creating boundaries, it's love. If you're not telling them what the parameters are that will possibly be dangerous for them, that's love, because you're protecting them and keeping them safe. And you tell them, you shouldn't do this, but it's because I love you. And this is the reason why. And being conscious that they're thinking, questioning those things anyway. This is our key to managing our expectations that they may not understand. These issues of self-awareness that we might have, we have to be present in understanding what do they need to hear and in what words. And these boundaries, they're challenging, but they are the path to you creating that trust in their world. There's another really wonderful book called Heal the Body, and it's by Louise Hay. And Louise Hay, I just love her story because she was able to truly transform her healing journey of cancer. And it was really through the affirmations. Again, we're talking about speaking, activating, and bringing life. What time are we at? I don't want to go too far. Okay. And the last thing is slow down. Now, I think that in this world where we're constantly go, succeed at the, for whatever it is our goals are, we have goals. Just be present, there's only the here and the now, and time's so fleeting. And I wish you all well on your parenting journey, and we're all here for you in this community. And I'm really happy and honored to have brought this topic to this community today. And I pass the mic on. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you.
Oh my goodness, Carmela Velarde. That was just like nourishment, right, you guys? Like total manna from heaven. You got a lot of love in the chat. There were some questions that I want to just speak to. One was, if you are in a split family and your partner does not have the same principles that you have, would you speak to that, Carm?
Yeah. So split families, this is where having the conversations, understanding what they're going through is so important. Of course, don't use all the time that you need to go into deeper discussions about how they're feeling and what they're experiencing, how it makes them feel, because they can connect to that. Children can connect to how they feel, and they can tell you. And if they aren't able to, then definitely have some professional help. This is where we need to use the community. I actually got into psychology because I had positive experiences from my child psychologist, as I think I was in grade school even. And when I had that positive experience, my kids now actually ask, my daughter was asked, so like, can I have a counselor? I was like, really? Because I was talking about the benefits of it. So definitely don't do it alone. And if it takes a village, then bring in support from other support that you have that is on, on your side of the parenting. If they're split homes, that's what I would say.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. I also just wanted to speak to, moving too fast, because I was definitely that parent when my children were young. And at one point I can remember I was rushing for no reason. And I don't know if it was because I was drinking coffee back then or what was going on, but I can recall in the moment stopping and going, why are you rushing, Stephanie? There is no rush. It was self-created. So as we become more aware, as we become more in tune with who we are and what's motivating us and what's making us tick, as we unpack our family of origin issues, right? So much about being a conscious parent is really getting to know oneself. And so that we don't repeat unconsciously how we possibly were parented, right? So and as a longtime spiritual counselor and practitioner, I just want to say a shout out for counseling. It's helped me so much in my adult life. I'm currently looking for a counselor for my teen because he's going through some stuff right now. And I'm like, yeah, I'll help you find someone, because I know the benefits. I know what's possible when we can receive that sacred mirror and we can share and be heard. So thank you so much, Carmela. This was so valuable, so valuable. I think it's really important for us parents to feel the community and to feel that we are not alone. That's what I heard a lot of in the chat, that there was a reason why encounter groups in the 70s were so popular, is because people learned that they weren't alone, and it's almost like this is our own version of that, right? In the 21st century. So thank you for being here with us today. Next week, we pivot to business. And dun, 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 yours truly is going to be sharing about the art of sacred sales, which is a presentation that I did for my team last week. It was very well regarded. I did it again recently for another team, and it's really, really valuable content, if I do say so myself, content, honestly, that I paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for. So you're going to get that all for free next week. And I'm really excited to share it with you on Fierce Friday, next Friday. All right. So thank you all so much. If you're inspired, go live about your inspiration and what you learned from Carmela today. Talk about the Million Mom Movement. Yes, please share on your nonprofit. Angie, you mentioned, can you share this on your nonprofit? Yes, share what we're doing here. Go to our YouTube channel, share the replay. It'll be up in a few hours, this replay. And thank you for being here. We cannot move this movement forward without you. All right. Carry on. Much love to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.